Hello,
Hey G, how's it going?
going good. How about you?
Doing okay? Started raining here. I think it's gonna rain the rest of the week and the weekend.
Uh, yeah. It's it suddenly got cold here, so I'm kind of not happy about it a little bit.
You
And
are happy about it?
no, I'm not.
Oh,
It was finally the weather where I couldn't I didn't need to wear a jacket outside for a couple of days, and it was sunny, and I was like, yes, finally. And it's back to Seattle. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it does get cold over there and then it snows sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I went snow tubing this weekend. It was fun, kinda. So I guess there is one advantage of snow.
You said it snowed this weekend?
No, no, no. I
Oh.
just said I went snow tubing this weekend.
Oh, you went snow tubing. What's snow
Yeah.
tubing?
So they give you like a uh, so there is a slope, and then they give you a tube which you can sit in between. Like it's a circular tube,
Hmm.
like exactly like a truck tire would be from the inside, or probably.
Oh, I see, I see. So you kind of
Uh,
slide?
Yeah, yeah. So you
Okay.
sit on top of the tube and then you just slide on the slope, and then they have
Oh, I see, I
like
see.
lifts on the side which can help you
Nice.
get back up there
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
slide again. So you don't need any skills. And it's kind of fun.
Where do you go to that? To the like a mountain?
Yeah. So there is a Snoqualmie Pass here,
Hmm.
where there is a resort also, and then they have this like a particular section where they do snow tubing as well.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
Yeah, that was kind of fun.
I don't think I heard about snow tubing before.
Yeah.
I like those the lazy river situations or like the tubing in the river.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have some family in Idaho. When we go there, we do that. It's really fun.
Yeah. So the similar thing is here at Leavenworth.
Hmm.
Like it's a town that's like 2.5 hours away, and
Yeah,
I've seen in the summertime that they do like that lazy tubing there. There is a
yeah,
stream of water going around the town.
yeah,
Um, I do want to try that, but like I just haven't been able to find a reservation. It's like really popular.
yeah. It's really fun. I definitely recommend it. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do, and especially if it's hot outside. That's really cool.
Yeah.
You can have like a drink and stuff in the tube too. Yeah, it's very relaxing. Although
Uh,
sometimes there's like waves and then like you can hit the rocks and stuff, so you just have to be a little bit careful. Cool. Did we have any agenda for today? I don't know if anybody is joined.
I didn't have anything except like an update. I actually did look through like mutations and how do we integrate them. I noted down ideas about like field transformation from our mutation to how we would do it in map. Um a little bit. I'm still halfway through it. But in doing so, like I do think we need to kind of elevate some of the restriction on the mutations we have in order to like completely support what map does.
Yep.
I mean, so there are two ways to go about it. Either we lift restrictions, or we say that hey, these are the mutations definitions from our side in
Hmm.
Gatekeeper, and you can directly translate them to map, and those that is how it will work. Like path test and all the restriction that we have, except for mutation convergence, I think, because their mechanism is kind of a little bit different than how we do conversion. We have mutation conversion loop run for n+1 iteration,
Yep.
and in there I couldn't find anything specific.
I see.
and there is a reinvocation policy there, which indicates that if the mutating object has changed after this mutation applied, this mutation policy will reapply again, but
Right.
it's just
Yep.
random.
Yeah, and I think that's what why when it runs into the infinite loops during the.
Yeah. Uh, so that being said, I think like there might be some difficulties. Like I couldn't figure out couple of fields to transform into map, and I'm still kind of going about it. But that brings me to my next question: is uh, do we want to, if we want to support like a whole whatever functionality that map provides, we probably want a new CRD with just nwraps map, right? In that case.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we talked about. Do we want to have a new CRD that's like we design it from scratch that maps both the current mutations and map, or can we somehow add it to the current one? I think they'll need a new CRD because I think it's just substantially different. And Rita and Christine, feel free to chime in. We are just talking about how we would map the map into gatekeeper mutation. Um, yeah, I think maybe we want to do like a V2 CRD, just so we still support the V1 as V1 beta one. I think V1, right? For mutation, we did
I
V1.
think beta, but I don't remember. Let me see.
You guys are definitely having way too much fun with this.
Yeah. So I think we might want to do like a V2 just in case. Yeah.
V1.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna channel Max here because I kind of know what he would maybe want to say, since he's out. So if you guys recall, right, like one of the differentiations for gatekeeper mutation is the fact that um we are able to allow multiple mutations to happen at the same time, and
Mhm.
therefore supporting batched mutation scenarios, especially with external data, right? So we don't want to lose that because
yep.
again, that's like a differentiation of gatekeeper, right? Or webhooks versus the entry one, right? So given that, I think maybe a new CRD might make sense here, much like how we support VAP, right? I know we don't have anything like uh, what we have with constraint template for mutation, so we wouldn't be able to like sort of shove map into the current mutation stuff. Um, I'm just trying to think of a way where we can support the new entry map scenarios while we ensure the old mutations still work the same way,
Yeah.
right? That way, if people want to opt in and out, they can easily do that, and then they know what they're getting. If we start to mix them, I think it might be even more confusing.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking about either new, completely new CRD or a V2 CRD, and V1 and V2 can live at the same time.
But so you are saying we'll do assign metadata, modify set, and everything in a V2 CRD as well, right?
I think I prefer a whole like different altogether because
Like a net new CRD.
yeah, because if you do V2, you're kind of saying V1 and V2 can't coexist, but really they can, right? Like again, I'm thinking about the use case here is as a user, I may want to have map entry policies, right, for the advanced mutation stuff that the current gatekeeper doesn't support, but I may also still want to use the current gatekeeper mutation for like external data scenario. So I can see a use case where you want both at the same time.
I can see that.
Okay. So, but we still want to, where possible, we still want to generate map for our current mutations, right? Or we don't want that functionality at all. Like for example, if I'm to create an assigned metadata mutator right now, do we want that in the backend we like generate map and map binding that equivalence to our own mutator? Because it is possible, right? Like even if we don't have a constraint template framework, since our mutations are not parameterized, we don't need that parameter anyway. So it's just like creating a map and map binding in the backend.
So do we want a new CRD to create map? And do we want it also to create the existing gatekeeper mutations? Do we want to treat it like the way we handle constraint templates?
That's
That's the question.
Yeah.
yeah.
So do we want to like we could have like a similar sort of structure and have it generate a mutation as is today, or if the user specified the other the cell the map, and then it just creates a case one. So either the gen map, the gatekeeper mutation. So two paths.
Yeah, again, if I channel my Max here, I think he would actually push back on like gatekeeper mutation doing map. Like I think he doesn't want that,
Oh, no,
right?
this is not gatekeeper mutation doing map. So it's like a new CRD, right? Say this is like Rita's mutation CRD. And then in the CRD, you can say either gatekeeper mutation or map mutation, right? One of them, you cannot say both of them. I guess maybe you can say, I don't know. So anyway, so one part of it will generate the K8s one, like as is like create a new CR for the one that we already have, right? And then the other part of it will create a map CR for K8s. It doesn't like generate anything. It just basically creates it based on the information there. It's kind of like an umbrella thing, and then it just like
Yeah. So does it only generate in-tree maps, or does it also do like kind of like how we support VAP, right? You can have the gatekeeper VAP, right? You could do that, or you could just generate and have the in-tree emission controller handle it.
Yeah, I think we can just create the, if somebody requires the existing mutation functionality, we create that object as is from the CR definition, or we create a map as is. What do you think?
The question, right, is for the entry map experience, do we just generate the entry map, or do we also want Gatekeeper to uh, do the same mutation without them generating
Oh,
them?
I see. I see.
I think
Yeah, I don't know.
if Max is here, I think he will push back on the second one.
Yeah, I'm fine with. We can just start with the Kate's doing it. So either so Gatekeeper does the old mutations as is,
Mhm.
and the new functionality will be the Gatekeeper generates maps.
So then my second question is, why doesn't user just write their own map? Like, why do they need to go through Gatekeeper?
Yeah, I mean same thing, right? So, but if
Yeah.
it's like external data, or
Oh,
other functions,
remember, if it's external data, we don't want the in-tree map advanced scenarios because then you can do mutation, batched mutation calls.
no,
I know,
it's like external data with the old mutation code.
right? If you're using the old way,
Yeah,
you wouldn't you again, if the use case is external data, you wouldn't use the new in-tree map because the circular dependency stuff, right?
right.
So
I can see it as like a convenience, I guess. So it's like you code into one CRD instead of like, hey, now I need to create a map versus I need to create a gatekeeper mutation. But I can see the point, like, hey, why don't you just create a map?
because if you remember, the whole reason we want to add VAP into Gatekeeper as an engine is to help the scenario where VAP API is not available in people's clusters,
Yeah.
right? But if our decision is, hey, if you want to use map, you should just use the K8s APIs, then it kind of I'm not seeing the value then.
Yeah, it's very minimal. It's more like convenience.
Minimal, and it's like, what do you get with? By the way, I'm just brainstorming here. I
Yeah,
have no opinion here. I'm just kind of pointing out the obvious here.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, totally. I agree 100%.
Yeah, this was I'm like when I was kind of mapping map and mutation. This was getting confused about as well. Like, what do we wanna actually
What's
do?
the value? Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately.
Could
Because
we do it, the gatekeeper enforcing map, or is that
say that one more time.
could we do it like gatekeeper like doing the same thing as we do with the map? Like gatekeeper enforcing it.
I
Like
know
gatekeeper will evaluate the cell and then mutate the
that
resource.
is one potential because so basically you're saying the new entry map experience, right? That you have a range of support. One is we generate only. The other one is we offer it as part of Gatekeeper, even without the API being available in the cluster. The third one is advanced map plus external data. So we definitely don't want to do this, right? So can we me in the middle where you're saying, but again, what I don't like about this also is as a user, now I have to learn another CRD that basically does the same thing as map. But again, I see the value, right? The value is you get it before the API is
right.
available, but that's a short-lived benefit.
Well, depending
Because
on how you interpret the time,
Well,
but
because we
definitely,
know, as I mentioned before, we know from the upstream maintainers, uh, beta is probably going to happen in 134. So GA maybe 135 or 136. So
right.
probably later this year or next year. So again, you're talking about this short-lived feature in Gatekeeper.
yeah,
Is it worth it?
Yeah, I think that's the question. Yeah, 100%. I think the question is like, do we have anybody that needs it now, or like in 3 months, 6 months,
I'm
whatever?
sure there are people that need it now, but
Yeah.
it's just like, is it worth that? Is that
Yep.
benefit worth enough to do all the work?
Yep. I agree.
I think with VAB is a bit different, right? Because at least you can say, hey, we are offering the same front end to users because you're coming through constraint template. But then with mutation, we don't even have that because we're offering like a new
CRD.
new CRD, so it just makes it really awkward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the lowest hanging value of that would be like if somebody is a CLI user or like
Gatekeeper,
really
the
on the
Gator,
yeah.
yeah, the Gator. Okay, there's one plus.
Yeah. Christine, did you have any thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I agree with Rita because actually counter mutations there's no complaint because it's easy. There's no because it doesn't need any regule, right? So if mutation, I think yeah, the way of right now in the constraint to generate the web, that way is good. Yeah, because if new CRM maybe confusing more customer. I don't think that they are going to use that because they are already satisfied with the current mutations and also yeah, if they want to map, yeah, they can use map, right? So
And I'm curious, do you get any feedback from the Red Hat customers about the um like the mutation shortcomings? Like, hey, this doesn't have this doesn't have that.
no, never.
Interesting.
No, yeah, never zero complaint. Yeah, they
Well,
always
that's great.
this.
And we don't need to have this conversation.
Actually, I don't know why. I don't think the map needed. I don't know because yeah, I think the current gatekeeper do everything. Maybe Kiverno has a generate.
Yes.
This is another conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
We're very
yeah,
well
right,
aware of
right.
that guy.
yeah. I hope we have that one too.
In Gatekeeper.
Yeah, gatekeeper has like a generate a resource in any like a specific conditions. Yeah.
This is great feedback, by the way. And then I'm curious, why does the customers want the generate as part of a webhook versus like a
Uh,
standalone thing?
because we are managing a lot of cross cluster, right? So they want to make the same conditions, the same environment. So if they create one kernel, again, they can automatically generate their resources. So that's why they use kernel over Gatekeeper because of that feature. Yeah, a lot of customer use kernel generate.
Right.
I see. What if it was like a separate project that did that? Say, I don't know,
Mhm.
like not Gatekeeper, but some other project. Do you think they would be interested?
You mean generating resources?
Yeah, not part of the Gatekeeper as is, like as part of like the webhook and all that stuff, but like a new project that generates resources based on the stuff on the cluster, say watching deployments and creating PDBs and whatnot. Because it doesn't
Uh,
technically need a webhook to be able to do that.
they already using the Kubernetes and also our product. We have the same similar uh, feature that they do the same functionality. So I don't think they use the new side project.
Interesting. So
Mhm.
you're saying that you have a product that already does that sort of,
Yeah,
say like watching deployments and adding PDBs, sort of like generate like functionality.
yeah. We have policy. We create a policy that puts some like object template, and then we create that one the object. So yeah. But gatekeeper thing, but Kiverno, they provided like a conditions, a specific conditions, so they use if they need a condition. Yeah.
Got it. And is there a specific condition that most customers are looking for? This is great feedback, by the way. I love this. Um,
Uh, I'm not sure about that. Because I haven't, yeah, I haven't talked about like specifically with conditional.
yeah.
I just know that they're using generate a lot of that.
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
can see like the being part of the webhook can be beneficial. Say like you're mutating, right? You have the old value and the new value, and then if the condition is based on the old value, do this sort of path. I can see that as part of
Well,
like
it
a,
wouldn't be a mutation webhook, right? It would be a controller.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But it would be that it can get information from the mutation webhook because it will be like the controller that watches that like does the mutation can have that old value because that's how it got submitted to the cluster. Was that confusing? I can clarify.
Yeah,
uh,
complete.
I think it's just basically like, when users say that I want to generate resources. By the way, I had the same conversation with the Kyvernal maintainer, right? And I think his opinion was for generating resources based on policies, there might be need for generating at emission time. And that's where the
Yep.
mutate like that's the argument that it is part of mutation webhook. And then of course a separate controller to do the generation of the existing resources in the cluster, right? When you kind of reevaluate it.
And
Um,
mutation time too. Like I think that would be a good use case. Like if it's a conditional that hey you want to do that that will I can see that.
yeah. Quick question on the one that Red Hat offers. Is that when you said it's a separate solution, is that something Red Hat wrote? Is it an open source thing or not?
Yeah, it is open source.
You mind link to it?
Yeah. Open cluster management.
Yeah, thanks.
Actually, that part is I'm working on.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
as
Yeah,
a
maybe we can talk about maybe if to see if there's an opportunity to collaborate here. Again, I think there's just a lot of opinions on what a policy webhook should do and should not do, and because it's so fundamental that whether or not, like, I would like to decouple the two, right? One is, hey, users need this generate resource thing. Okay, let's address that. Whether or not it belongs in Gatekeeper, that's a separate conversation. And I want to just not mix the two for now.
Maybe we need generating admission webhook.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, huh? And also, Christine, I want to understand the solution that you're working on. Like, how do you deal with granting permissions, right? Because
Mm,
when we're talking about something like Gatekeeper or Kyvernal, there are policies that you roll out that says, hey, I want to be able to generate, say, PDBs. And obviously you need to grant write permissions to create PDBs, right? But say tomorrow you have another policy that generates something else. How do you deal with when to grant write permissions to these resources?
because our product is focusing on the managing the multi-cluster. So if we call that we have a hub cluster and a managed cluster, if user has a managed cluster permission, then I can create any resources. If so, based on the hub cluster hub clusters RBAC, I can create the object or not.
Mm. Right, but you're assuming that your controller,
Yeah.
right, has right access to those resources based on new policies that are deployed, right? Like, for example, today you roll out the generate PDB policy, right? Then that policy essentially grants right access to the system account that the controller uses, right? So next time when you deploy another policy to generate something else,
Mhm.
you must grant right access to that system account. Anytime a new policy is rolled out to generate a new resource,
Mhm.
that RBAC for the system account used by the controller will need to be updated. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's kind of like
That's how Kyvernal works, by the way.
we don't use that kind of mechanism, so we are like we are more main focus is managing the multi-cluster. So our like a RBAC system is kind of like a based by the managed clusters permissions. So it's kind of little it's different from Kyvernal. That's why users need a Kyvernal and also our product.
Yeah,
It's hard to explain, sorry.
no worries. But I'm just saying the solution that you're writing, right? That you're working on, you would need to be able to address that permission, that RBAC problem. Because every time you need to generate a new resource, the RBAC needs to be updated because you don't want to grant RBAC to everything. You don't want to grant write permission to everything. Much like Gatekeeper doesn't have write permission to everything, right? That would be bad. Does that
You
make
mean if the new resource, you mean the new CRD, right?
no?
No?
The okay, generate resources, this feature, right? Whatever the controller you're writing, it must have write access to generate a resource, correct?
Yep.
Right. So what that means is every time you add a new policy that allows the controller to generate a new resource, you have to grant write access for the new resource. Today is PDB. tomorrow it could be something else, right?
Okay. Oh, maybe I'll ask my team again because I
Okay, yeah.
was jumping in the middle. So I think our management RBAC maybe it's allowed all the resources, I guess.
I know, I bet, I think that's probably what you're doing, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to explain that's a really bad
But
idea.
that's a bad thing, yeah.
Because if that controller,
Yeah.
you're essentially you're giving God mode to that controller, right? And and if that controller gets hacked or whatever, then the whole cluster is, that's like one single attack for surface for the whole cluster.
Or if somebody can create a CR that can invoke whatever the control is doing, then you're basically giving whoever that can create that CR access to everything in the cluster.
Maybe I'll ask my security teams how these things.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm happy. Let me send you this. Let's see.
And I think by default, Kyverna does not add any permissions today, and then you'll have to like define each and one of them.
Right. I'm gonna link to the doc where Kyberner talks about as a user, when you deploy a new policy, you need to grant write permissions to the new sorry, the resource that you're trying to generate. Uh, yeah, so I just put it in the chat. All right. Any
Coming back to map and mutation, like what do we want to do? The question still stands.
I guess like right now, other than Gator, I don't really see a lot of value add. And even for Gator is like, I wonder how many people use Gator for mutation.
I mean, so far we haven't had any uh, uh, requests for it, right? Like get or mutate, basically.
Yeah. Because usually, we think we hear ask for validation, right? Because then you can set it up in your CI. But generating, sorry, not mutating, it just kind of sounds weird. Not weird, but like, what do you do with the mutated resources? Do you like commit it back to your Git? I don't know.
But I can see a value, right? Like if somebody wants to improve the performance of their cluster, they would replace mutating webhook with like getter CLI. Then as a part of deployment CI, they will keep the getter muted thing and then apply the resources directly to the cluster rather than have them muted on the cluster itself.
Ugh.
And the other, I don't know if this is a value or not, but it's just like all your mutation is kind of under one API group, probably. Like if we can come up with a CRD that unwraps map, then it's like mutations.gatekeeper.sh, and then you are good to go.
Again, I'm not sure if there's like a lot of value of like using Gatekeeper for the mutation stuff when you can just like dump the map resources directly, right?
Yeah.
The other alternative is we make the mutation more relaxed to match the map capabilities.
Say that one more time.
We relax the gatekeeper mutation to to match the map capabilities.
So in those cases, we might be losing like batch mutations and other functionalities.
Yeah. Maybe if we have like a flag or something like that, I think we talked about this before. Have basically like, hey, do unsafe mutations, whatever. And then if the user enables that, then we can do more. So that way we don't have to create a new thing. We just make the existing thing kind of like map.
But then we'll need to come up with another CRD or some sort of new fields in the existing mutations in order for users to express self, right?
Yep.
No, I mean we had some of these things in the past. Like I think we had like value tests and whatnot. We took them out because it was not safe. And I don't remember exactly. Um, so and then we have more restrictions in the current syntax to not enable the users to do unsafe stuff. So it's basically like adding back the path tests, or sorry, the value tests, and then see if we can relax it to meet the requirements.
There is like apart from value test, there is the path test requirement also, right? Like the location and the subpath field that we are testing in the like parameters has to be the prefix of whatever the location is and whatnot. So those are also the requirements that we'll need to let go of.
Yeah. So I think we need to look at the
Again,
map and then, oh,
but
sorry. Go ahead.
aren't you like implementing map at that point? Like you literally I don't think that's what we want, right? Like we don't want to implement and do what map is already doing. It's like either you expose map as is, try not to change the behavior as much as possible. Like it's just a wrapper basically, right? Or you just say, hey, we don't offer this and please go use the in-tree map stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I was saying we just relax the mutations as is, and then if you need map-like functionality, you just use map.
But what do you mean by we relax the current mutation as
I
is?
think we talked about it in the past. We like took away like the value tests and a few things that, or we said no to a few things that like the gatekeeper mutation can't do because they're unsafe.
Mhm.
So if map can already do these like unsafe stuff, would we add back say value tests or remove like the guardrails that we tell users to not to do? Since we already have the code, we just basically need to remove those guardrails if map already offers those functionalities.
Like, what's the point of us being more conservative than
Exactly.
us in Kubernetes?
Yep.
because of external data. Because as soon as you add those, right, then again, you're losing the differentiation.
Right, but then we add like some sort of like a flag or something. Well, so if external data is on or whatever, then
Sure.
you basically get it back into the guardrails.
That might be confusing, right? Like, then why would users use the gatekeeper mutations without guardrails? Like, they would just use map.
But they cannot use map until it's GA. So it's
Again, the
basically a
point is
minimal amount of work to basically get us over to the to when map is GA in 134, I think 35 we said.
maybe I mean this is all
Yeah. So whatever X years from now.
right.
So like, I'm just thinking like, what is the minimum we can do to meet
But
the requirements while we get over the hurdle?
but so users will be able to enjoy the similar functionality of map through gatekeeper mutations, but then they'll eventually need to transition or write new their own mutations in map if they wanted to,
Yeah,
or they
if
need
they
to.
want, or they don't have to. Yeah.
But then that means we have to,
But
you said relax the things, right?
Yeah.
It,
so
it feels like we're adding it, but then like it's not still not map, right? It's not you're not gonna get all
Yeah.
of the map
Oh yeah,
functionality.
absolutely.
Like
Yeah.
really weird, like we're only offering really the benefit is just for like a year maybe, and then you're not quite map, and then you're not going to be able to support external data. So again, I'm questioning what is the value.
So folks can use it today. That would be the.
Again, just for a year.
so for yeah
I mean, they
for
don't have
that.
to, right? If the gatekeeper mutations are fine for their use case, like nobody is asking them to move to map. I mean, there are benefits of it, sure, but like
I
they're not.
can also see a slippery slope where users now asking us to support cell expression and whatnot in map also, like in our mutations also, just because map uh, is going to is supporting the more complex and powerful cell expressions for match criteria and mutations.
Yeah.
I mean, for external data scenarios.
For all kind of scenarios, yes. Like if we open up and say that, hey, we are relaxing our mutation requirements to match with Kubernetes, then the next step is like for us to also support cell until it's
Of
available
course,
in
of
Kubernetes.
course. Yeah. Again, I get all of that, but again, I'm only seeing like a year window. And I'm just thinking like, is a year worth of benefit? Is it worth the
Well,
ongoing support and maintenance of
so
the
I do think that users generally are tough to migrate from one platform to another. So if we do support this feature, it's not going to be just for a year. It might be beyond that, but it's not like indefinite as well. But that's my opinion. I'm not taking a stance or anything.
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'm not seeing enough ROI here because it's like we're kind of midway. Like we're not quite as comprehensive as Intree Map. We're never gonna be able to do exactly what Intree does, and we will not offer the same thing for external data. So I'm not understanding the long-term benefits. And meanwhile, they, like in a year, we could just say, hey, go use Intree Map the way it is. I think the only thing that may be ROI is if someone says, I don't know, like I really like cell and I want to use cell expressions for the external data experience, maybe, but then it's like that's a whole new feature, right? Like
Yeah, that's
for gatekeeper mutation. And again, how many people are asking for that? I'm not sure.
I don't know if that's possible because that's the same issue with the validation, right? Like we can't add like new functions into cell.
No, not new functions, but like support a new expression.
Right, right. Yeah, like like new stuff into cell, which external data would be.
but we didn't do it in the Rego also, right? Like it's our
Right, it's a new
modification.
engine. It's not, you're not like adding on top of the Rego engine. It's a
Right.
completely new engine. And for gatekeeper mutation, we don't even have like a separate engine concept. So that's like a very net new thing that we never even designed for. I think mm, I think for the folks in the issues that are asking for these additional mutation experience or features, like what do y'all think about maybe reply to those that in those issues and say, hey, we validated this is how you would do it in the with the entry map. What do you think? Like I'm actually kind of curious if we just point people to the entry map, how do people like is it actually meeting the requirements? And if it is, then I think it's just a matter of maturity, right? Until it's available. But if the feedback is, oh, I don't want that, I still don't want to use it there, I still only want to use gatekeeper for some reason. Like I think that will be valuable feedback.
Yeah, so I agree, but at the same time, like without either creating a new CRD or enforcing our gatekeepers mutation principle, what's the difference? Like why if for whatever reason user says we want to still keep using gatekeeper and we want you to support cell, it will be our in our own way and not exactly map.
Right, I agree with you. That's why I'm
Okay.
not convinced right now that there is enough value for the user. Like because if you look at the existing mutation asks, right? If we think that all of those could be addressed by the entry map, let's show them how it works. Maybe they haven't tried it, or maybe they have tried it. It's just we don't know, right? Like I think if we ask them to try it and then see if that addresses their pain points, and if it does, then that's maybe good enough.
Okay, I can look through the exact requirements on the issues and figure out if there is a way from map to do it as well.
Right, right.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a
So
good next step.
the idea is that we would ask users to migrate to map.
Yes. Unless they're using external data. If they're using external data with gatekeeper mutation, right, then they will just stay where they are.
But they won't be able to migrate because map is not available. Like we'll be asking like, hey, in the future, would you migrate?
Yeah, that is right. Because remember, part of what we're doing is also validating if the entry map is working well or not. Remember, API SIG API machinery is actually looking for feedback, right? So if anything isn't like users have requested and it's not working, let's share that feedback and make sure it does work in the entry one. And if it doesn't, let's figure out why, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like if I was a user and then somebody would ask me that question, but I would say like I need this functionality today, not in a year. But I understand from our case that hey, we don't want to like invest in it if it's going to be gone in a year. So it's kind of a weird thing.
I think the way I would comment in the issue is, hey, we're working with SIG API machinery to take these user requirements and make sure they're well addressed in the entry map solution. And if not, we'll work with SIG API machinery to see how we can bridge the gap. Like that's how I will position this, because then because then it shows that as a community, like that's the future, right? And the differentiation for mutating webhooks in the future would be external data, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you.
Okay.
I think just from a user perspective, especially with upgrades and all that stuff,
I know,
like
but
it's
that's
just
always gonna be the case.
yeah, like we're asking them to say like, hey, in 5 years, would you use this basically?
I know, but again, it goes back to this is also why I think we need to get more involved with the map feature to help it graduate as well, right? The sooner that thing graduates, the less time or pain point, for end users. I think one thing I want to highlight is like the Gatekeeper project, like we're more than just Gatekeeper, right? Our scope and world is Kubernetes users, right? If there is a better solution and a better future, we should help nudge people towards that. Oh
Yeah,
wow, it's already
10,
6
15.
minutes left. Anything else we need to talk about?
For next steps for me is like
Yes.
look at the issues and figure out how map can address them, and if not, then we can reach
Yes.
out to API.
Start use those issues, start collecting feedback, and then let's bring it back to SIG API machinery.
Yeah.
Let's work with that SIG a lot more. And next week is code freeze, and I already told CC that we are going to get more involved in API machinery specifically for map to again help with the graduation, right? And I think again they're looking for feedback from the community, the real users, and it's hard because it's alpha, but we got real users, right? So
Yeah.
let's help there.
And let's maybe Jay, let's bucket them. Like I think we'll probably run it like it in a few buckets. Like say like we want value tests or we want this functionality, sort of like
Field
instead of hey
test
issue
or
1, 2, 3, just say hey issue 1 missing value tests 2, and then we can list the issues that are referencing because I think there'll be multiple ones that are
yeah.
mapping to the same
Yeah,
issue.
the thumb ups.
I don't recall there being like more support, more than like 5 or 6 issues for support for mutation, and all of them either comes to like path test restriction that hey this has to be the path thing, or like checking some other fields value and then setting something else.
Yeah.
Well, let's count the
Yeah.
thumb ups too. Yeah. Again, you use whatever data we have. It's limited, but it's
Yeah,
better
yeah,
than nothing.
yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for the input. I don't have anything else.
Do we have any other topics?
Oh, sorry.
Let's see.
So I didn't take notes. I'll just
I'm
update.
just adding the yeah.
Oh, okay. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
I think one thing you could ask Jay is depending on the response, right? Like whether entry helps or not. I think one thing I really want to ask is if it works for their scenario, do they foresee just generating the map resources on their own? Or is there a need to use Gatekeeper for that? Like meaning use Gatekeeper as the front end kind of like how we do with VAP generation. I can sort of see benefits with that, right? Where you're using gatekeeper as the rollout mechanism.
I see what you're saying. Like, so your all your policies would be centralized, and wherever the gatekeeper is, you roll out those policies.
That's right. Like I can sort of see maybe that would be a reason where we want to generate map, like wait the way we do map.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so maybe I also ask that question in the issue. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Pretty sure this won't be the last time we talk about this.
Yeah.
But I think this is really exciting because I think it's an opportunity for you to collaborate with say API machinery, and then we can learn from that as well. And
I,
drive the future experience there. Yeah.
I took some notes. Let me know if they look accurate. I put some of the ideas we had.
Again, I'm the third one, right? I don't think this makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, these are just ideas. It's just so we document
Sure,
that
sure.
we talked about these. So
Let me actually put my opinion, I guess. Just
yeah, feel free to add anything.
yeah. This will be short-lived.
I mean, all of them are short-lived.
Yeah, I'm just saying the benefit, right? Like
I mean, this is short-lived as we assume that people upgrade. Clearly not the case.
my mind is so into AI right now. Like, you abbreviated action items, and I'm looking at it like AIJ. I'm like,
Oh
how
yeah,
did that generated an AI statement
yeah.
from?
I always got that. Yeah. Action item. Yeah, I think somebody was commenting. If you say put AI in the chat in Teams, that it will it like take that.
okay. All right. Thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.